Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Increased taxes in one Caribbean country and tax relief in another. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, May 31. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Two budgets delivered in the region Tuesday and Wednesday with different impacts on taxpayers. We start in Barbados, where citizens have been told they will be paying higher taxes on imported goods and locally manufactured products from July 21st. That's July 1st. That was one of the measures included in the 2017 budget, which was presented by Finance Minister Chris Sinclair in Parliament on Tuesday evening. He announced an increase in the National Social Responsibility Levy, which was introduced last September, from 2% to 10%. That tax is applied to goods imported into Barbados and on domestically manufactured goods. A 2% levy has also been put on all foreign exchange purchases, and an increase in the tax on gas and diesel is also included in the 2017-2018 fiscal package. Despite the bitter medicine, Sinclair said government opted against other harsher measures, including one that would have meant the reintroduction of income tax to a segment of the wage-earning low-income working class.
Examine the option of reducing the personal taxable allowances from $25,000, we call it tax-free, $25,000 to $15,000 per annum. Moving it down, that is, as well as further reducing the bands in both the upper and lower end as a compensatory intervention to offset the impact on the average taxpayer.
Sinclair also told Parliament that a proposal to cut the value-added tax, that's the VAT, to 15% but eliminate all zero-rated food items was also rejected. He said the overall impact of removing such things as the near 300 basic items from the VAT basket for the poor and the imposition of VAT on water, financial services, prescription medicines, medical services and hospital supplies would have been dangerously devastating on the population. Meantime, opposition leader Mia Mottley has dismissed the budget as a de facto devaluation of the Barbados' economy. Minister Sinclair said the revenue-generating measures are aimed at reducing the country's deficit and boosting foreign exchange reserves. But in her response to the budget on Wednesday afternoon, Mottley said ordinary people would be worse off when the measures take effect.
It is unconscionable, and leaders must lead from in front. You do not go to the front of the queue and start eating. They know it. And that is why I say that this is fundamentally an issue about leadership in this country. I want to tell you that if I were Prime Minister of this country, the Minister of Finance that came to me, and let me put it on record now, to inflict that level of taxation would have to wheel and come again. You could not seek to tell me you were balancing a budget by gouging the liver gall out of the people of this country.
Meantime, the Bahamas government on Wednesday presented a $4.7 billion budget to Parliament that offers some tax relief for citizens. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest presented the first budget of the new Hubert Minnis administration since the May 10 general elections. He said the extent of tax relief that the government could possibly announce at this time is severely constrained by the very grave fiscal position that it inherited from the previous administration. And he said implementation of other tax relief commitments in the Free National Movement Manifesto must therefore be deferred until measures are put in place to create a more sustainable fiscal structure. However, Turnquest told legislators the new government is eliminating customs duties on some medical supplies, reducing import duties on a number of food and beverage products, reducing import duties on a number of personal care and other personal products, as well as household items, reducing the excise duty on electric motorcycles from 65 to 25%, and providing duty exemption on equipment and machinery specifically designed for ground repair, maintenance, and service of cruise ships and sea vessels that conduct domestic and international travel. Still in the Bahamas, government has declared it will not be issuing any work permits for jobs Bahamians can do. The directive comes from newly installed Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis. It stipulates that Bahamians must fill all available posts before any consideration is given to foreigners. In fact, Minister of Labour Dion Fowkes made it clear that he has already been very strict in approving labour certificates for work permits and has denied or deferred several applications since taking office just over 2 weeks ago. Fowkes says the Bahamas has a serious unemployment problem, and he was adamant there would be no backing down from implementing the policy. He expressed concern that some companies were trying various tactics to bypass the rule, charging that some had set unfair criteria to deter Bahamians. The Labour Minister disclosed that where special skills were required, the employer must identify a Bahamian who has skills in that area to train for the post to eventually take over from the foreign worker. A 13-member National Unity Government was sworn in the Cayman Islands Wednesday morning in a ceremony in the Legislative Assembly. As expected, McKeever Bush is Speaker in the House and Alden McLaughlin is Premier for a second consecutive term. Deputy Premier is Moses Cook Connell, and Opposition Leader is Ezard Miller, while Alva Suku is Deputy Opposition Leader. The swearing-in came a week after the general election, in which independent candidates won 9 seats. The Progressive People's Movement, the PPM, won 7, and the Cayman Democratic Party, the CDP, won 3. After several days of negotiations, the PPM and the CDP joined forces along with 3 independents. Premier McLaughlin says the road was long, but the country now has a viable government that is ready to do the business of the people. A leading regional meteorologist says the Caribbean and other small island developing states are facing an uphill task in trying to convince the world to contain global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrialization levels. In fact, John Tohi Morales tells CMC News that the train has already left the station and is speeding down the tracks. Caribbean researchers say that a ½ degree Celsius change in global temperature could make quite a difference for the region, which has already been severely impacted by the adverse effects of a warming climate.
We're already at 0.95 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. And unfortunately, the way the temperatures are rising, it's accelerating. It's warming faster and faster as the years go by. This train has left the station. It is unfortunately accelerating, and being able to limit it to just 1.5 degrees seems like a reach to me, seems somewhat unrealistic to me. The Paris Agreement talks about 2 degrees Celsius of warming around the world, but our current pace is for 4 degrees of warming, double that. So whatever climate action needs to be taken quickly to mitigate what's going on.
Tohi Morales is questioning whether there is enough support behind the climate agreement. He says the United States now thinking of not even participating. It will be quite a challenge. Tohi Morales says with his own predictions and the uncertainty of the U.S. on the climate deal, Caribbean countries need to focus first and foremost on adapting to climate change.
Political will to adapt needs to be there. And where does the political will come from? It comes from the people. The people need to put pressure on the authorities and the leaders of each country to make sure that action is taken to adapt to a warmer world. Heavier extreme precipitation events, longer dry spells and droughts are just 2 of the many facets that we're going to encounter in a warmer world.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, a three-time successful election candidate in Grenada bows out of politics. We'll be right back.
Follow your heart to the 21st edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from the 22nd to the 24th of June, featuring Shabba Ranks, Ultimate Rejects, The Boozman, Mobado, Jack Pure, DJ Private Riot, and back together again, Square One. Also performing Third Word, Voice, King Mighty Chalk Dust, Credence Clearwater Revisited, Ed Robinson, Ricardo Drew, Teddyson John, Felicia Ross, Brianna D, Lyrical, and Google Dolls. For more information, log on to www.stkitsmusicfestival.net.
Ready.
It's another episode when we out on the road. This is what we love to celebrate, to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out the road.
Drink, drink, drink.
King Baba and the guitar. Every fact that I go, you keep on calling me wrong name. But that's okay, cause that's my bitch. I don't understand how we're in the name tag on me. You know what to say, you still calling me wrong name.
Don't get vexed with me. Don't say that.
Are you ready? Are you ready now? Hey, St. Kitts, are you ready? Yeah. St. Kitts on Nevis, Wagwan. Hey, tell me now, are you ready for some rockers music?
I love the song for the people. Heritage of blessed Kitts people.
Chatting CARICOM, a four-part series on the status of the regional integration process. Your chance to get answers.
We as a small island, how do we factor into that bigger picture?
Why is the process taking so long?
While there is liberty to move among the islands, you still have some level of restriction.
Chatting CARICOM also gives you updates on recent CARICOM projects.
We're seeking more and more to engage all our partners in moving forward for the development of our region.
We have come together in relation to society.
Join the Caribbean community and CaribVision for Chatting CARICOM, a community for all. May 31st at 8 p.m. Welcome back. A second senior member of the Grenada ruling New National Party, the NNP, has announced that he will not be a candidate for the party in the next general election. Minister of Sport Roland Bowler, who is also the NNP's General Secretary, told a constituency branch meeting in rural St. Andrew on Tuesday that he's retiring as an MP at the end of the current term to become a full-time party organizer. He said he will be the manager of the NNP's national campaign in the immediate period.
I know that my wishes had initially been taken as a surprise. But now many have fully accepted my vision that I am about to bring and the changes that I would want for this constituency as it is moving forward. Additionally, friends, I am of the view that having served for 3 terms, I have run an important leg in this relay.
Bowler, who has won all 3 times at the polls, says he is confident the party is on solid ground in St. Andrews North East.
Part of the legacy which I crave is to see a strong, vibrant, and unbeatable party, not just now, but in the future. As the General Secretary of the party, I want to lead this consolidated effort. I want to play a pivotal role in the next campaign and beyond that.
Bowler is continuing as MP and member of the cabinet until general elections, which are June next year, but widely expected this year, are called. Deputy Prime Minister Elvin Nimrod previously announced that he also will not be a candidate in the next poll. And Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, the longest-serving leader in the post-independence Grenada, has said the next contest will be his last. Staying in Grenada, teachers and school principals say they will take a day of reflection on Thursday as tension increases between the Ministry of Education, the Principals Association, and the Grenada Union of Teachers. It all started with a public spat between the ministry and the Grenada Boys Secondary School, the GBSS. GBSS issued a letter to parents notifying them that they would be expected to pay for their children's furniture from September. The ministry, in a public response, told parents not to pay the requested funds since it goes against its education policy. This evoked the ire of both the Teachers Union and the Principals Association, who held joint press conference. And GBN's Eugenia Peters picks up that story.
The Grenada Union of Teachers says it has been an unfortunate but good situation, as it now gives them the opportunity to force the ministry's hand to address unfulfilled obligations. Additionally, it says parents were ill-advised when the ministry, through its media release, said parents were not supposed to consider the requests of the GBSS principal. As a result, the Grenada Union of Teachers, the GUT, has put forward a number of measures, including a day of reflection on Thursday, where teachers are being asked to stay away from the classroom. GUT President Lyden Lewis says the moves are simply to get the Ministry of Education to put its money where its mouth is.
We demand an immediate and equivocal retraction of the ministry's press release and the statements made by Minister Steele. 2, we are asking that all principals and teachers in the Tri-Island state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique remain at home on Thursday, June the 1st, to rest and reflect. We are going to rest and reflect on the struggles of the many years of fundraisers, of the many years of struggling under difficult and trying conditions. We're going to rest and reflect and come prepared to take further action, if needs be, against the Ministry of Education. And we're going to further ask that all schools suspend all fundraising activities geared at school improvement for 1 year, beginning September 2017 to July 2018.
GUT President Lewis says there are a number of issues it would like the ministry to address before the start of the new school term.
The increase in violence in schools, the aggressiveness of both male and female students, and the issue of sexual explicit videos and the prevalence of sexual activities of students. And to not have guidance counselors in school is an indictment against the Ministry of Education.
Some CXC exams are due to begin on Thursday, the schedule of which the GUT says would have to be decided by the individual schools.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, Afghanistan beats its cricket tour of the West Indies on a winning note. That another sporting development after the break.
In a place where legends start, the beach is just the beginning. So live a little for the exhilaration and the color of every moment, where time is and life is a spirited event. Immerse yourself in the culture, the music, the people, the island. Love Antigua and Barbuda. Embrace an experience that leaves you breathless, from cricket to sailing week to carnival and more. Antigua and Barbuda, the beach is just the beginning.
Follow your heart to the 21st edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from the 22nd to the 24th of June, featuring Shabba Ranks, Ultimate Rejects, The Boozman, Mobado, Jack Pure, DJ Private Riot, and back together again, Square One. Also performing Third World, Voice, King Mighty Chalk Dust, Creedence Clearwater Revisited, Ed Robinson, Ricardo Drew, Teddyson John, Felicia Ross, Brianna D, Lyrical, and Goo Goo Dolls. For more information, log on to www.stkitsmusicfestival.net.
Beautiful Barbados and 4D Entertainment welcome you to the Flow Soca on the Hill, Sunday, July 23rd, 2017, where the mega stars of Crop Over 2017 assemble with the Caribbean's best, Patrice, Skinny Fabulous, Ricky T, Orlando Octave, and Ultimate Rejects to bring you the world's greatest soca party, the Flow Soca on the Hill. Let's gather the people.
Chattin' CARICOM, a 4-part series on the status of the regional integration process. Your chance to get answers.
We as a small island, how do we factor into that bigger picture?
Why is the process taking so long?
While there is liberty to move among the islands, you still have some level of restriction.
Chattin' CARICOM also gives you updates on recent CARICOM projects.
We're seeking more and more to engage all our partners in moving forward for the development of our region.
We have come a very long way since we started.
Join the Caribbean community and CariVision for Chattin' CARICOM, a community for all. May 31st at 8 p.m. We begin our midweek sports package with cricket. The Afghan cricket team kicked off its tour of the West Indies on a winning note after beating WICB's President's 11 by 12 runs in the first T20 warm-up match. Batting first at Warner Park in St. Kitts, Afghanistan piled up a modest 115 for 9 in their batting innings, with Usman Ghani top scoring with 36. Picking up the wickets were Sheldon Cotterill and Miguel Cummings with 3 wickets each, while Virasamy Parmal had figures of 2 for 24. In reply, President's 11 could only muster 103 despite a well-played half-century from Johnson Charles. They were slumping at 31 for 3 in the 7th before Johnson combined with wicketkeeper Devon Thomas in a 40-run 4th wicket stand to revive the innings. The hosts were then seemingly well poised at 71 for 3 in the 14th, but once Charles, who struck 5 fours and 2 sixes, became the second off spinner Mohammad Nabi's 2 wickets, the innings fell away with 6 wickets falling for 30 runs. Leg spinner Ramat Shah was the pick of the bowlers with figures of 3 for 11, while Amir Hamza grabbed 2 wickets. The Afghans face West Indies in the first T20 International of the 3-match series on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time. Meanwhile, veteran cricket commentator Fazir Mohammed says playing Afghanistan in the ODI and T20 series will be no walk in the park for the Caribbean men. But he hopes the West Indies squad will use their experience to make a clean sweep in the series. TV6's Vinod Nawani has that story.
Do not underestimate Afghanistan. So says revered regional cricket analyst Fazir Mohammed, who at the same time expects the West Indies to win the upcoming T20 and ODI series against the Asians. However, Mohammed believes Afghanistan can win at least 1 out of the 6 games. He says, quote, "If the West Indies play to their potential and ability, it should be a clean sweep. Afghanistan won't be automatic pushovers, but the West Indies' greater experience should see them through. My feeling is 2-1 in the T20s and 3-0 in the ODIs for the home side, unquote. Looking at the squad picked by the Windies selectors for the T20s, Mohammed says it was what he expected. He says, quote, "It's the usual mix that reflects the state of West Indies cricket. There are established T20 stars, a couple emerging talents, and some who have been around for a while without ever commanding a place in the team. No real surprises," unquote. Regarding interest in the series, Mohammed doesn't think that it will grab much attention because it runs parallel with the Champions Trophy in England. He says while the top 8 nations are vying for the prestigious trophy, playing Afghanistan feels like being demoted to cricket's second division.
Over to track and field now. A Jamaican athletics official says people should not be too concerned about Elaine Thompson's level of fitness. This after the 100-meter and 200-meter Olympic sprint champion finished third in the Prefontaine meet in Oregon over the weekend. Thompson clocked a season's best 21.98 seconds behind Tori Bowie of the United States and Bahamian Sean Miller Weber. President of the MVP Track and Field Club says Thompson is still in top form.
Thompson in 2016 finished third at this very same Eugene Diamond League meeting, running 22.16 with an aiding wind of positive 1.9. This weekend, 2017, she finished third again, running 21.98 with a positive plus 1.5 wind. Last year, she went on to win gold at the Olympic Games in Rio months after this performance, the 22.16, and she's way ahead of where she was last year. So we're very happy that she's going to continue doing well for 2017.
Trinidadian world champion Otto Bolden expressed similar sentiments.
As regards Elaine, I have some information that Elaine was not 100%. But in this sport, if you line up, no excuses. And she lost a phenomenal performance. She obviously didn't look herself. And anybody who has been watching Elaine, myself included, knows that Elaine will be fine. She hasn't lost in a year, and she's human, and that's the same position that she got last year.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Ready. It's another episode. When we out on the road, this is what we love to celebrate, to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out the road.
Drink, drink, drink.
King Baba and the guitar. Every fat that I go, you keep on calling me wrong name. But that's okay, 'cause that's my babe. I don't understand how wearing a name tag on me. You know what to say, you still calling me wrong name.
Don't get vexed with me. Don't say that.
In a place where legends start, the beach is just the beginning. So live a little for the exhilaration and the color of every moment, where time is and life is a spirited event. Immerse yourself in the culture, the music, the people, the island. Love Antigua and Barbuda. Embrace an experience that leaves you breathless, from cricket to sailing week to carnival and more. Antigua and Barbuda, the beach is just the beginning.
If you like dancing and whining and fretting till the morning. If you like drinking, masquerading, live music always playing. If you like islands of blue seas where people always smiling. If you like street jams and bandstands where people will be jamming. Don't you miss this time, no. Our festival, our legacy. Don't you miss this time, no.
Again, the major developments of this day. Increased taxes announced for Barbadians while Bahamians get tax relief. And in sport, the Afghan cricket team kicks off its tour of the West Indies on a winning note. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to KarnaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Do have yourselves a good night.